Okay, hello my friends, welcome to the session on XAT DILR, rather decision making, sorry. Well, my mind is still on the cricket game which is happening between India and South Africa, but here we are talking about CAT, XAT decision making. As I said, my mind is still on the game. So let's get into the groove right now. Talk about the XAT decision making, which is going to happen in the first Sunday of 2024 January. That is probably in about a couple of months. So let's go ahead and take a look at what happens in the decision making session. Basically, what kind of questions come in, what has happened over the last few years, and how do we go about getting prepared for this particular topic. Okay, now firstly, please understand, decision making is a separate section, like your English, like your quant. Decision making is a separate section in your XAT. Now I'm emphasizing on the word separate because very important for all of you to understand, it has its own cutoff. So decision making has its own cutoff. So this is something that you need to keep in mind when you are preparing for your XAT. So if you are applying for their for XLRA's business management or their HR programs, then you need to have 3 different cutoffs and an overall cutoff. You need to have the cutoffs for their English, you need to have the cutoff for their quant and DI, and you need to have a cutoff for decision making also. Now, decision making typically over the last few years had around 21 to 22 questions. Last year they were 22. The year before that for 3 years, that is 20. So last year meaning this year, because the XAT always happens in the month of January. So this year's XAT is basically 2023 XAT, that's already over. So there were 22 questions. But if you go back to 2022 XAT, 2021 XAT and 2020 XAT, all these 3 years, they were 21 questions. So the typical way in which they used to ask earlier, 21 questions, were very simply broken as 7 sets. Each set into 3. So 7 into 3, 21. This year, however, they changed it slightly. They made 2 sets of 2 each. Okay, so that's basically how they got. So 6, I think they gave 6 into 3, 18, and they gave 2 into 2, 4, and the total was 22. Okay, so this is typically how the section of decision making comes to you in your XAT. Now, if you ask me what's going to happen in 2024, frankly, I don't have any idea, because XAT is, I mean, it's their wish. They can change the pattern. They can make it 21, they can make it 22, they can continue with 22, because this year they introduced 22 and they want to see how will it pan out if you do for one more year as 22. And that's very valid. I think you can expect this kind of a pattern. But again, as I said, it is XAT. We cannot guarantee this. Now, having understood the pattern of this particular section, let's go ahead and take a look at what type of questions come in this decision making. What actually is this decision making? Because such a section does not exist in any other entrance exam for MBA colleges in the country. Okay, it's one of the rare sections that you come across for MBA entrance exams. So what's so great about decision making? It is one of my favorite topics. The reason why we are talking about decision making is because it is not calculation based. It is not math. So all those of you who are weak in maths, well, you can try to excel in this section, because this does not involve maths. Yes, probably 10% maths, 90% on your sensibilities, common sense, right? Second, it does not involve too much of English. Yes, of course, the questions are going to be in English, simple language. It does not need you to understand grammar. It does not require that you know the meanings of some high sounding words. No, it's a simple language that is going to be put in front of you. What you need, on the other hand, is decision making, as the topic indicates, the ability for you to read content in front of you, to read a scenario, a story in front of you, and based on a question, you're supposed to give the perfect answer. In fact, I always call this Vikram Betal stories. So I don't know how many of you are aware of this Vikram Betal. There used to be an old television show, and this is a story that goes way back into history also. It is said, again, there is no historical backing to this. It is said that Raja Vikramaditya had, the set of stories told to him by a corpse by name Betal. And the Betal used to give a very nice story for the entire episode in the TV show. And at the end of the episode, it used to ask, what should this person do given all the scenario? So the stories used to be ethics based, moral or morality based, sometimes kingdoms, about kings, about promises made by kings, and so on and so forth. Okay, that's what was there in Vikram Betal. This is something very similar to that. You will come across business scenarios or individual life scenarios or ethical based scenarios or morality based scenarios. It could also be simple calculation based, because of analytical cases where you're talking about a scenario which requires you to calculate something and come up with an answer. Very rare, but that is also a possibility. So in decision making, you are basically given stories, guys. So there will be 7. So when I said 7 sets, each set is a story for you. The story typically will be for 3 to 4 passages. It's not going to be very long. It's not going to be as long as a CAT passage. It is going to be about 300 words to 400 words. Easy, simple to read and understand. However, the questions are going to be very, very tricky. And trust me when I say this, options are going to be even more tricky. Because of which, decision making, although easy to understand, becomes one of the most challenging topics to get very high score. Out of 22, trust me that the cutoff out of 20 to 21 marks, because in XAT each question is only 1 mark. So last year, I believe the cutoff was about 4.5 or 5 marks, or probably about max 6 marks, not more than that. For your BM, decision making for your HR will be slightly higher, probably about 6.5 or 7 marks, something to that. So please imagine, if you get 7 questions correct out of 22, you are getting your cutoff. So that's how difficult this section is. And I've seen great students performing awesome in English, Maths, DI and LR, and falling flat in decision making. Why? Because these are not calculation based. These are not things dealing with quadratic equations or vocabulary or grammar or reading comprehension or fill in the blanks. This is more about real life scenarios and how you will react in a real life. So that is basically what this section is all about. Okay, so let's go ahead and start by solving 2 sets for today. I have 2 sets in front of me. Now each set will start with a passage which will have a story. Based on the story, there will be 3 questions just like your reading comprehension. However, these questions will require you to make a judgment by analyzing the information given. This is completely different from your reading comprehension. Okay, it's not about what the author thinks, what the author wants, no more. It's about the story has a hero or a villain for that matter. What should the hero do given this business scenario? So for example, I'll give you a few types of cases that can come. First, business. Second could be HR. Third could be socio-political. Fourth could be personal. And fifth could be analytical. So what is business? So they will give you a business case study saying that, okay, a person owns a company, the sales have been like this, they have got a new competition, the sales are going down, the sales manager said this, the vice president of sales said this, then the head of president of sales said this, you are the CEO, what should you do? And then you need to understand the entire scenario and give an answer to the question. Similarly, if you're talking about HR, it could be based on, let's say there is, in fact, last year itself, there was this question. Last year in the news, there was a lot of discussion about moonlighting. I hope you all know what is moonlighting. Moonlighting is typically the scenario where you are working full time for a company, but at the same time, you are doing some other job for another company also, which is basically called as moonlighting. So there was a case study given on moonlighting, and it was a question on ethics and should you do it, should you not do it, those kind of questions. So that could be called as HR. Socio-political, political scenarios can be given. There was one question about, in fact, 2 or 3 years back, I remember very, very clearly. It's a question about there is a political rally happening. There is a local MLA, and something has happened there. And in fact, yes, he was giving a speech in front of a lot of people in a very poor area, and something happens, and the huts catch fire, and something related to that. The story related to that. How will he make the what kind of judgments is he supposed to make in a scenario like that, something similar, something related to that. Similarly, we have personal case studies. I remember this personal case study very well. There was a very simple case of a household scenario where there is a trust issue for the people in the house with respect to the maid who's working in their house. So they suspect that she's stealing money from them, from their wallets when she's cleaning. So how do they handle that? Something related to that. That was one question that has come. And of course, analytical are basically where you need to do a little bit of number crunching and come up with an answer. So this is usually rare. I will say less than. Last time only 2 questions came out of 22. Right? So it is very rare, or even if it comes, you'll get one set of 2 questions or so. But mostly it's about your judgment. Okay, so that's basically what happens. Let's go ahead today and take a look at 2 sets for you and try to see how do we go about solving these questions. So I'm going to go to the first set. This is the first set. I'm going to give you around 30. Okay, let me give you 1 minute to read this. This is not the end of the data. The data is there in the next slide also. So I will give you 60 seconds to read this data, and then I'll move on to the next page slowly. Okay. Okay, so that's about a minute. First page is done. Let's move on to the second. I'll give you another minute to go through this. Okay, guys, so that's another minute. Let's move on to the third slide. Last slide. I'll give you 30 seconds to read, not much of information. All right, so here is the first question. So take a look at it and come up with the correct answer based on what you understand. Let us see how correct you are. I'll give you 1 minute to decide on your answer. All right, so that's time up. Let's see what is actually happening here. So let's go back and take a look at the important points here. While I said this is a decision making questions, it requires you to calculate a little bit, not much, little bit only. So let's understand what calculation does it require. Now, Jamshedpur has a population of 10 lakhs with one of the highest per capita incomes, which means the earning potential in Jamshedpur is pretty high. That's point number one. Okay. He likes music, because of which he wanted to do something with his passion and make a business out of it. Jamshedpur did not have a single good music outlet. Okay, so that's one advantage. Obviously, every city there will be a lot of people who loves music. Jamshedpur being no exception, there will be a lot of people who loves music, but there is not a good outlet that can sell good quality music. So that's a good advantage, and he wants to set up a business. So Music World wanted the potential franchisee to own minimum 1200 square feet space and invest 30 lakhs. So the fixed cost is 30 lakhs. This is the investment. Okay. What will it be spent in? Typically, when you are establishing an outlet, it will be spent in making a hoarding, or the outside, the board that you see, the interior decor, etc., etc. All of that will be included in this 30 lakhs. Okay, profits were to be shared in the ratio of 3:7, which means he will get 70% of profits, not full profit. So if he is making 1 lakh, 30,000 will go to the franchisor, the person who is making who made the company originally. He is a franchisee, which means he is using the brand of somebody else. So Music World is the company. It's called as a franchisor, the entity which is giving out the franchisee. He is the franchisee, basically means he is the person who is taking the franchisee. So he will get 70% and 30% will be shared with the entity, the brand, right? While Shekhar was excited about working with a renowned brand, he was worried if 30 lakhs was too high. So he did some bit of survey. What did he do? He found out that in Patna and Ranchi, he is expecting a sales of anywhere between 1 to 2 lakh rupees per month. Which, let's say, take the higher side. Let's take 2 lakhs on the higher side, right? So he will make into 12 months. So he will make 24 lakhs as sales. Now, what is the profit margin? Profit margin is 25 to 30% total profit. So this, again, let's take the higher side. Let's say 30% is the profit in a year. So how much is this? This is for this 12, 6, 7. So it's 7.2 lakhs. So the best possible scenario, overall profit for his franchisee could be 7.2 lakhs. Simply put, now, does this 7.2 lakh belong to him? No. Why? Out of this, only 70% belongs to him, because 30% he has to pay to the franchisor, which is the music world. So what will he get ultimately? He will get 7.2 into 0.7, 14, 7 to the 49, 50. So he will get only 5 lakhs. He will get 5 lakhs in a year finally after doing this business. Right? Now he spent 30 lakhs already in investment. Now, what else is the expense? One of the big expenses is the cost of rent. Okay? So the rental costs have also been given. 30 to 40 rupees, not only was it difficult to obtain space in Bistpur, but property rental is 30 to 40 rupees per square feet per month. Now please remember, this is 5.04 per annum, full year. Okay? Now, let us say that he wants to set it up in Bistpur. He will have to put 30 to 40. Let's take the lower side, 30 rupees. 30 rupees into 1200. How much is this? 36,000. 36,000. That is the least case scenario, and he will have to pay for 12 months. So 36,000 into 12 is 3.6 lakhs plus 72. So this is how much? 3.6 lakhs plus 36 into 2. 36,000 to the 7.72. 72,000. So 13. 4.32 lakhs is his only expense for your rent. So effectively out of 5.04, 4.32 is gone. So what is left for him? What is left for him is only around 68,000. And here the assumption is there is no other expense. But reality, what is the reality? There will be a power expense. There will be some administration expenses. He has to buy a computer. He has to use some paper for it. All these expenses are not even considered. Just the rent and the revenue calculation basically says that he will not have anything left. And again, remember, I have taken the highest revenue and the least rent. Not going to work. Let's look at the other case. What if he is looking at Sunari? In Sunari, it's 15 to 20. So here there could be a possibility. So let's look at the question now. Suppose sales in Patna and Bistpur. Now we are looking at Bistpur. So costlier place, 30 to 40 rupees. There itself I have taken 30. The least possible rent I have taken. Even then, you are only left with 68,000 at the end of the year with no other expenses taken into account. If you start putting in the other expenses, there will be somebody who has to come and there has to be a restroom, somebody has to come and clean the restroom, there will be a chai pani kharcha, etc, etc. All that you put into account in a year, the 68,000 is of no use. It will be gone just like that. So can he ever recover the money? Clearly no. So the answer is maybe never. He will never be able to recover the 30 lakhs that he spent as the fixed investment. Okay, so that's the first answer. Okay, Sonali and Akash basically say that I am hiding the slide. Okay, thank you for that. I will not be hiding the slide anymore. I think this is fine. Sonali, Akash, is the slide fully visible now? I hope this is fine. Alright. Okay, so the first answer is maybe never. Let's look at the second question. What could be the most likely reason for Shaker's bias in favor of Bistpur? I'll give you 1 minute. Think about this and we'll see what the correct answer is. Okay, what is the answer here? Now this is more like an RC, this particular question. It's you have to search for the answer in the passage and you have to eliminate the options. Here it's very less to do with the analysis that we done in the previous question. It's more about understanding the passage, what happened. So this is more like an RC. So let's look at it. What could be the most likely reason for Shaker's bias in favor of Bistupur? First, let's look at the easier ones to associate, delete. So, sorry, okay, I showed you the answer by mistake. So anyway, this is gone. Why would anybody want to go if there are higher rentals? That will not be the reason. Gone. Now, crowded image of Sakchi. See, your question is favor of Bistupur. So if Sakchi is crowded, does not mean that Bistupur is your option. There are 3 cities. Okay, Bistupur is one, Sakchi is one, and there is a third city. If Sakchi is bad, does not mean that Bistupur is your option. It could be the other one also, right? So why Bistupur then? That cannot be the reason. So B is gone. Now let's look at C. It was difficult for Shaker to associate non-Bistupur area with good quality products. Now this was nowhere mentioned. Okay, they were just talking about the type of areas. Okay, it did not talk about whether the quality of the products are good or bad in these areas. So this also is gone. Presence of a college going crowd, as you felt they were customers of the latest music. If you notice in the entire discussion, the college growing crowd never came into play. That word itself was never used properly. So this also is not your answer. You will be left with only option E, which is what I showed it to you by mistake. So the answer is option E. Let's move on to the question number 3. How best should Shaker resolve his confusion? I'll give you 30 seconds. This is not a difficult one. Let's quickly go ahead and try to solve this. 30 seconds. Let's see what the answer is. Okay, so let's go ahead and take a look at this question. First, the key word in the question is how best should Shaker resolve his confusion? What is it? His confusion? His confusion is about, should I set up in Bistupur or in this place or in that place? Will I make money? That is the confusion. By investing in the franchisee is not your answer, because you are in confusion. How can investing in the franchisee be a solution? It's like saying that, look, I am not sure whether I should do this or not, and the answer is go and do it. That's not correct. Next, option B. Do not invest in the franchisee and look for different brand options. See, when you are confused, why will you say I will not go ahead? A decision has to be taken, yes or no. So, as long as you're in confusion, you will not be able to say yes or no. So, you should be able to say yes with a reason. You should be able to say no with a proper reason. So, you should actually search for the reason. There itself you have the answer. But this is not the correct reason. Go back to Singapore, obviously not the answer, straight away rejected. Do a further in-depth study to find the driver and potential of the business. This looks like a winner because you are trying to see, well, cost is high, rentals are high, I understand. Now, even the first year I might make a loss. Great, agreed. Does it mean that every year I'll be making a loss? What if my potential for growth is high? What if my business takes, so this year I'm getting 2 lakhs. What if I can, is it possible for the business to make 2 lakhs per month to, let's say, 2.5 lakhs per month next year, or 3 lakhs per month for next year? If it is possible, then this year I'll make a loss, yes, but next year I'll start making profits. So he has to understand that scenario. Therefore D is correct. This is again not correct. Approach another music company. Again, you are reaching out to another music company. What is the guarantee that their cost will be any different? See, the problem here is not the music company. Yes, 30 lakhs is a problem. There is no guarantee that another music company will be giving it to you cheaper. Second, the problem for you is rent being high, and you are taking that the revenue is going to be 2 lakhs forever. It is not so. So you need to understand, will my company grow beyond 2? If yes, how much? What is the potential? That is what you need to understand. That's why option D is the correct answer. Okay, so let's move on to the fourth question. Which one of the following is the most important decision criteria in such a business situation? Let's go ahead and take a look at this. In fact, the answer is already discussed. So based on the previous discussion, you will straight away say the answer is option C, future market growth. Today, you're making a loss should never be the reason for you to exit a business. Today, you're making a loss, agreed. Tomorrow, what is the scenario? That is the most important part. We already discussed this, hence I am not giving you too much of time. The answer is option C. Let's move on to the next three questions, 5, 6, 7. And after this is the last set for today. After this, we will stop our discussion and we'll end the session. So guys, read this, 60 seconds, 1 minute for you to write down or rather note down the important parts in this particular question. Let's go ahead and start taking a look at it. Okay, so that's 1 minute up. Let's move on. Okay. Okay, so guys, this is the scenario in front of you. Let's take a look at the first question. Which of the following are the reasons for Jet Airways not doing well? I'll give you 30 seconds. Let's come up with the answers. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. Obviously, the answers are 1 and 2 because rising ATF prices are a problem globally, which means even for this particular firm of Jet Airways. Reduced passenger load is particularly a problem for Jet Airways. It is mentioned in the passage. However, declining service quality was never mentioned as a problem. And staff traveling to Dubai, let's take a look at it. Where is the Dubai problem coming from? According to yes, Air India engineers go to Dubai. So you're talking about Air India is having this problem. It cannot be said that if Air India is having this problem, the problem is there with Jet Airways also. So the Dubai wala scenario is only for Air India. The Dubai scenario is for this particular company, not global or not pan India. Therefore, this also is incorrect. This also is incorrect, this and this. So therefore, the answer is option 1 and 2. Right? It's a simple scenario. Let's go ahead and take a look at question number 6. What is the answer to this particular question? I'll give you 1 minute. Let's go ahead and take a look at it. Okay, so let's take a look at it. We basically have 10,000 crores is the entire industry. First of all, 10,000 is Jet, there is Air India, and there is all others. All the others. Now let's go ahead and take a look at what is X and Y. So this is given to you as 3,000. This is your X and this is your Y. Okay, so let's go and calculate Air India's loss. So let's take a look at the information given to us. Air India is making a loss somewhere, it is mentioned. Where is that? Yes, the situation was equally grave for other national carriers driven by mounting losses of almost 10 crores a day. Air India in its merger avatar was considering severe cost cutting. So basically Air India is losing 10 crores a day. In 365 days it will lose 3,650 crores. So use this number and come back to this. Okay, so where are we? Yes, so you have, I have mentioned over here, so this is 3,650 crores. So the total here is 6,650. What is left then out of 3,000, out of 10,000? 6,650 is gone, so the remaining will be 3,350, which is 350, 340, which is your option D. So again, did we use too much of maths? No. But did we have to search for the correct point? Yes. The multiplication is nothing. Anybody can do this multiplication. Anybody can do this simple addition and subtraction. But the analysis is basically 10,000 is made up of 3 things. Jet Airways is already known. Air India is given to us in a very not direct fashion. We have to calculate that simple number and then subtract, add these two and then subtract from 10,000. That is the idea. That's it. Last question for the day. Suppose fuel constitutes 30% of the revenues. Do you think airlines would be in a better situation by reducing prices? So let's go ahead and take a look at this and see whether this will be, you'll be able to get the answer or not. 30 seconds for you. Go ahead and try. Okay, so let's see what the correct answer is. Suppose fuel constitutes 30% of the revenues. Do you think airlines would be in a better situation by reducing prices? So you are basically talking about reduction in not cost, reduction in prices. What prices? You're talking about ticket prices. Okay. So 30%. So now, first of all, the trick here is you need to understand fuel is a fixed cost determined as a percentage of the revenue. So please understand this. I'll take a simple example. Let us say revenue is 100. Okay. And I'll take a simple scenario. You're going from point A to B. You're going from A to B in a flight. There are some travelers. So let's say there are 10 people paying 10 rupees each. You're getting 100 rupees. And okay, you're getting 100 rupees. And what is happening here is the cost of fuel is 30. Okay, so the cost per ticket is 10 rupees. Clear? Now, what the question says is, if I reduce the prices, will I be able to be in a better situation? First, remember, when you reduce the price, the cost of fuel will not change, because the cost of fuel depends on going from A to B. The distance and the load in the flight more or less the same. So the flight with the passengers will take the same amount of fuel. So this 30 will remain the same. Correct? Now the problem is, if you bring this down to, let's say, 8 rupees per ticket. Now if this remains the same, then your revenue is 80 and the cost is 30. So earlier your operational revenue used to be 70, now it is only 50 rupees. So if you reduce the price and the number of people don't go up, obviously you're making a loss, because the 30 will remain as 30. But if this becomes 8 and this 10 becomes, let's say, 15, then you will be making 120 rupees as revenue. So 120 rupees minus 30, you'll be making 90 rupees as profit versus 70 rupees as operational margin. Right? Now, whether this will go to 15, remain 10, or go to 11 or 12, who knows? We don't know. We don't know the elasticity. The economical term to use is the elasticity of demand to this particular price. Hence, the answer is data insufficient to reach a decision. Because when I reduce the price, yes, the ticket sales might increase, but how much? Is it going to increase by 50%? Because 10 to 15 is 50%. Or is it going to increase only by 10%, 10 to 11? So let's look at what happens if it is 11. If it is 11, 11 into 8 is 88. You'll still be making a loss then. Rather, lesser margin then. So you don't have the data. Therefore, the answer is cannot be determined. So friends, with this, I will be taking a leave for today. I hope you got a sense of how decision making happens, or decision making questions are asked to you in the XAT exam. We will be having a lot more sessions coming our way. So please be tuned into our channel. Do not forget to hit on the subscribe button if you are not subscribed. Please click on the bell icon so that you keep getting notifications about all these sessions that we are taking for you. Thank you and see you in the next one.